Title: Red Lines and Fallout, the United States, Israel, and the Last Gamble on Iran. Chapter 1: The Fuse Beneath the Desert. In the heat of early summer 2025, something shifted. Israel, long a shadow actor in the struggle to contain Iran's nuclear ambitions, made a calculated leap into open aggression. Targets struck, systems jammed, centrifuges shredded. But the real tremor came days later, when the United States dropped the pretense of plausible deniability and joined the fray. From Natanz to Fordo, Iran's nuclear installations faced coordinated attacks not seen since the Osirak strike of 1981. But this time, the bunker-busting payloads dropped were American GBU-57A/Bs, the massive ordnance penetrators designed to reach the unreachable, pounded Iran's fortified underground bunkers, marking a seismic escalation. The war on enrichment had officially gone hot. Chapter 2: Why now? Why this? Israel had long telegraphed its red lines. Iran, under the protective cover of international fog and fractured diplomacy, crossed them. Enriched uranium stockpiles soared, IAEA access shrank, and the centrifuges spun faster and deeper underground. What made 2025 different? Some blame the Israeli intelligence leaks suggesting Iran had begun assembly of a rudimentary nuclear device. Others point to internal U.S. politics, an administration squeezed between declining global influence and an election cycle rife with calls for decisive leadership. The decision to strike, historians will note, wasn't reactive. It was deliberate. It wasn't to stop a bomb today, it was to send a signal that neither Israel nor the United States would allow one tomorrow. Chapter 3: The Immediate Explosions. Iran's response was swift and layered. Hezbollah launched rockets from Lebanon. The Houthis struck oil tankers in the Red Sea. Militia groups in Iraq launched drone attacks on American military bases. One hit Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar, killing 7 service members. The Pentagon called it an expected escalation. The markets reacted like a snake to fire. Oil jumped to $102 a barrel. Lloyd's of London suspended war risk coverage for vessels crossing the Strait of Hormuz. Freight prices spiked. The Suez Canal saw a drop in container traffic by 43% in 3 weeks. The world had entered a slow, suffocating burn. Chapter 4: The Suez Gambit. If war is geography by other means, then Iran's most potent weapon wasn't a nuke. It was the Strait of Hormuz. A third of the world's oil passes through that 21-mile-wide choke point. And Iran didn't need to close it, only to threaten it. Shipping companies rerouted around the Cape of Good Hope, adding weeks to delivery times. Container ships sat idle, insurance premiums ballooned, and inflation ticked upward in every G7 nation. Egypt's Suez Canal, already struggling from drought and competition, faced a catastrophic loss of relevance. Chapter 5: Iran's Deep State Awakens. Tehran, wounded but not broken, consolidated around the IRGC. Ayatollah Khamenei declared the strikes acts of war. In a perverse irony, the American-Israeli offensive may have strengthened the very apparatus it aimed to dismantle. Reformist politicians vanished from public view. Moderates were imprisoned. The hardliners no longer had to justify their posture. The great Satan had proven them right. Fordo was hit, yes, but the idea of resistance was now enriched to weapons grade. Chapter 6: Europe's Divided House. Germany, France, and the UK found themselves politically paralyzed. They condemned the Iranian regime's past violations, but also distanced themselves from the strikes. Protests erupted in London and Berlin. The EU struggled to maintain a diplomatic posture, even as missile debris landed near US embassies in Baghdad and Erbil. Europe had no appetite for war, but now it had one anyway. NATO, while not officially activated, convened emergency sessions. Turkey remained silent. Poland and the Baltics, wary of Russian opportunism, quietly backed the U.S. intervention. Chapter 7: Proxy Hell. Iranian proxies flooded the conflict zone. Hezbollah launched over 2,000 rockets in 10 days. Hamas surged in the West Bank. Iraq became a battlefield between Shiite militias and American contractors. Yemen's Houthis turned the Red Sea into a graveyard of merchant vessels. This wasn't just a war with Iran. It was a war with everything Iran touched. The Middle East lit up like a constellation of chaos. Chapter 8: the Russian and Chinese calculus. Neither Moscow nor Beijing wanted a direct confrontation, but both saw opportunity. Russia, bogged down in Ukraine but still influential in Syria, offered Iran anti-air systems and satellite intelligence. China offered diplomatic shelter, condemning the U.S. unilateral aggression while securing sweetheart deals for oil shipped overland. The new multipolar order didn't require soldiers, it required markets, and Iran's war became China's discount. Chapter 9. Domestic Reverberations. Back in Washington, the strikes sparked a constitutional crisis. Lawmakers demanded war powers authorization retroactively. Protests filled the streets of American cities. Some hailed the move as moral clarity. Others saw it as another endless war. By month's end, approval ratings had collapsed. The stock market rallied and crashed in the same week. The 2026 midterms were no longer about inflation or immigration. They were about war. Chapter 10. The bomb's shadow. Had the operation succeeded? Technically, yes. Key uranium sites were destroyed. Centrifuge cascades were halted. But the science couldn't be unlearned. Iran's nuclear knowledge base had been scattered, hidden, and encoded across academic institutions and military research cells. The bomb had no home, but it still had a blueprint. Chapter 11. What peace means now. The strikes may have delayed Iran's nuclear ambitions by 5 to 7 years, but peace, in its traditional form, was now off the table. The region was militarized, radicalized, and bleeding. Israel's deterrence had grown, but so had its list of enemies. The United States had reminded the world of its reach, but not its wisdom. Diplomacy returned, slowly, reluctantly. Talks in Geneva sputtered and paused. The Arab League issued a rare joint condemnation of everyone. Chapter 12. Conclusion. The Last Gamble. This was not World War III. It was worse. It was something ambiguous, persistent, and nonlinear. A simmering cascade of strikes and counterstrikes, embargoes and cyber attacks, gas hikes and election shocks. The US and Israel had gambled on surgical precision. What they triggered was a grand malseizure across the global order. And so the book closes, not with peace, nor with victory, but with radiation in the soil, oil in the straits, and uncertainty in the sky. Epilogue. Red Lines Revisited. Somewhere another nation watches. Perhaps in Asia, perhaps in the Mediterranean, and they take notes. Because now, everyone knows what it takes to start a war, and no one knows what it takes to end one. Sources: Business Insider, Reuters, Time Magazine, The Guardian, Al Jazeera, Defense One, Rand Corporation, CIPRI, Cheese, Brookings Institution, IAEA Briefings, 2025.